And we were very much focused on mentoring the Afghanistan police in order for them to take over and be a stabilised police force once the British pull out and withdraw from Afghanistan. There was a new threat to the British Army called the insider threat. And the insider threat was when the Afghan police and Afghan army were recruiting people to join the police, to join the army, who were actually Taliban. And they'd gone through the process. And we were very much focused on mentoring the Afghanistan police in order for them to take over and be a stabilised police force once the British pull out and withdraw from Afghanistan. Teach, educate, mentor, coach, sometimes lead, because they weren't ready, so you had to step up. My main job was to mentor British Forces personnel who were mentoring the Afghan police. And my role was to very much make sure that the British forces were mentoring the Afghan police properly, not doing too much for them, but knowing when to step in and do the job for them if they couldn't do it. If we were to say to the Afghan police when we arrived, be outside the accommodation block or this area at 8 o'clock, they would turn up at 9 o'clock. And they'd turn up and say, I haven't had breakfast yet, so can I go for breakfast? And we were like, okay, you need to eat, you need to have some water, go and eat, but we'll come with you, we'll sit down, and then we'll have to talk through them. Yesterday we spoke about being there for 8 a.m. and you were 1 hour late. Can you talk me through why you were 1 hour late? Oh, I was just tired and I didn't want to get out of bed. Okay, but when you're police and you have to do a task, you've got to be on time, because if you're not on time, the consequences are A, B, C, D, E, and F. And it took time to get that mindset across. So you can imagine the big scale things like trying to train an Afghan policeman, policewoman how to shoot straight, which is one of our jobs as well, was also quite a challenge, because they thought the mindset of spending time to have the sights correct to pull the trigger. For the Afghan police, it was very much just point and shoot, but they won't be accurate. And therefore, if you miss the target, you waste ammunition. So we had to train people how to be safe to run the range, how to maintain the range, how to maintain targetry, or the things we had to depart our skills and knowledge to them in order for them to be sustainable. And that's challenging. It's time consuming, but you've got to believe in the end goal and trust the process. There was a new threat to the British Army called the insider threat. And the insider threat was when the Afghan police and Afghan army were recruiting people to join the police, to join the army, who were actually Taliban. And they'd gone through the process. So they were wearing the police uniform, they were wearing the Afghanistan army uniform, and they would be in the role as working for the army or the police. And they're actually insider, but they're a Taliban individual. So we didn't know this threat until, unfortunately, we lost a few people. And when that happened, we had to switch our tactics around. Well, how can we look after ourselves more? So not only do we have to train to be mentors, we had to train ourselves to be what we call guardian angels. So let's say I was mentoring 10 Afghanistan police. I would have somebody to the side of me about 50 meters away in full protective clothing, protecting me, mentoring them. So they are the eyes and the ears of watching everybody, and they are, they're good to go. There were a number of threats, right, which was continuous. We had to have vehicle moves. So we had to get in the vehicle and move from, one base to another base. And when you're going down these routes in the middle of Helmand, on these main roads, these tracks, you've always got the threat of improvised explosive devices, suicide bombers. I cannot remember a day in Helmand when you didn't hear of an explosion. Over time, when you start losing friends and losing colleagues, and people are, if they're still with us but they've lost a limb and they're extracted back to the UK, it then becomes, the mindset changes quickly around, wow, yes, I wanted this, but actually, why are we really here? I personally work with a female called Islam Bibi, and Islam Bibi she was elevated to be the head of police for the whole of Helmand. Now, unfortunately, you know, I was her mentor for a good 5 or 6 weeks, and what I found from someone like Islam was pure focus and determination to make a difference. And her difference was to integrate females in amongst the male dominant police force. But the problem Islam had was her family knew of her job, knew of her promotion, knew that she was going to be head of police in Helmand, and her brother tried to kill her. Her husband tried to kill her because they didn't want her being in that situation, because they thought it puts her family at risk. But she was adamant, you know, this is what I want to be, this is what I want to do, this is where I want to see the future for females. So she was adamant to continue with this pace. And bear in mind, everyone before her was assassinated. Every single one, every head of police in Helmand was assassinated before she was asked to take the role on, because the person before her was taken out. Now, unfortunately, she was also assassinated during our time in Helmand. And it's the first time that I think I've actually been probably physically scared on a flight. So we were at about 10,000 feet coming into land, and we got the tannoy system saying, you know, we're now going to go into the airspace. Could you please put your helmet on, put your body armor on, and all the lights also go out completely inside this plane. So the pilots go to night vision, and you can't see a thing, you're completely blacked out. You've got all your protective equipment on, and you're there just waiting for 30 minutes, 40 minutes before you hit the floor. When we landed, it's very much in the British military, we call it a sausage factory. So you just churn through this process to get to the end point. Now, we didn't fly into Kabul. We flew into a place called Bastion. And Camp Bastion was in the middle of nowhere that the British Army had set up to form a base for thousands and thousands of soldiers. And we shared this area with the Americans. And you spend a number of days in theatre, as in Camp Bastion, one, to acclimatise to the conditions, because the heat is quite surreal for when you come from the UK. You go through your mandatory briefings. So welcome to the theatre, welcome to Afghanistan. And they then tell you what the next 3 or 4 days may look like before you go out and do your role. We go into this tent, and we shared some briefings around what you can do on this base, what you can't do on this base. When you walk around this base, you must be dressed like this, you must be in twos, you must be in, if you want to go do a bit of fitness, you must be a minimum of 6 people. So you've always got protection around yourself whilst you're in this area before you scoot forward into your area of responsibility, which is anywhere in Helmand. A lot of people were really good, but a lot of people were still corrupt within the ranks of the police and the Afghanistan army. As soon as we heard that the American forces and the British forces were going to withdraw from Afghanistan, from that moment onwards, you know, I think you ask many officer or soldier in the army who were serving or veterans, I certainly did. I thought it was a matter of time before, you know, the Taliban start doing what they did 10, 20 years ago. I wasn't shocked with the takeover. I was shocked with the speed of it.